Hey everyone, Kyle Walker here. If you love cars, fixing things, or just want to understand your vehicle better, you're in the right place. I share hands-on tips, smart driving advice, and straight-up car talk without the fluff. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stick around till the end. You don't want to miss what's coming up. Let's get into
There are two
it.
categories of car owners: those who fill the fuel in the car as needed and possible, and those who want to drive, being always sure that there will be no problems with a suddenly empty tank. The former do not always prefer to do without full refueling for purely financial reasons, although this is a major factor. Many drivers are afraid to fill a full tank due to rumors about the danger of this method. We will try to clarify the situation, at the same time telling you how to properly refuel a full tank without knowing how much is left in it. Refueling technique to a full tank. Car owners usually know how much gasoline or diesel fuel their car's tank holds. This information is contained in the owner's manual. And what is their surprise if, when filling an almost empty tank, more fuel is put into it than is specified in the data sheet? But there are also opposite cases, and although they are rare and perceived positively, the distrust of filling stations on the part of drivers only increases. Meanwhile, all these cases are well within the norm. Why? That's what we're going to talk about now. Overflows when refueling to a full tank. There is always a possibility that the incorrect, in your opinion, meter readings are really the result of certain machinations on the part of the gas station employees. But, strictly speaking, at network gas stations such probability tends to zero, but misunderstanding on the part of motorists remains. The reason is the discrepancy between the passport and real capacity of the gas tank. The thing is that the instructions usually specify the volume of the tank itself, and if it is equal to 45 liters, then the gun firing, that is, its automatic shutdown, can really happen when this figure is reached. But if you try to refill some fuel in manual mode, it will turn out that before the liquid spills out of the filler neck it can hold another 5 or even 10 liters. European cars are especially guilty of this discrepancy. Their real gas tank capacity is 15 to 25% higher than the nameplate capacity on average. The most scrupulous are the Japanese, where this figure is the most modest, not more than 10%. Americans, Koreans, Japanese, and domestic cars have a reserve of about 15%. So you should not be surprised at the discrepancy of figures. Moreover, the empty tank is in extremely rare cases, and even if you stalled because of the lack of fuel in the engine, it does not mean that the gas tank is dry. Underfilling here, too, the situation is far from unambiguous. In any case, on most passenger cars, the fuel level control light comes on if the fuel reserve level is reached. In specific figures it depends on the model of car, from 3 to 5 to 6 liters, but in any case it allows you to drive with a burning light bulb about 50 kilometers, which in most cases is enough to get to the gas station and replenish gasoline/diesel fuel. That is, the onboard computer and fuel level sensor are set up with some reserve intentionally to reduce the number of cases of complete emptying of the tank and the occurrence of problems in the operation of the fuel pump, in the same way the speedometer deliberately lies, showing a higher speed than it really is. Thus, every driver should know that the percentage of tank fullness will be at least 10% higher when the tank is full. Recently, many car manufacturers have made it easier for motorists by specifying in the user manual both the nominal capacity of the gas tank and the reserve value, relative, expressed as a percentage or absolute, in liters. In particular, on cars of VAG concern, brands Audi, Volkswagen, Skoda, Seat, these data are available, and depending on the specific model can be 10 to 14% of the tank capacity according to the passport. As a rule, it is an additional 6 to 7 liters. So when the onboard computer starts signaling that the tank is empty, it is only a warning that you need to urgently look for a gas station. In Japanese, as we have already noted, the reserve is much smaller, within 5% of the nominal capacity of the gas tank. However, many car manufacturers have recently resorted to various tricks to make drivers visit gas stations more often. For example, many cars of the latest generation are programmed in such a way that they do not show the driver the remaining range after it has been reduced to 40 to 50 kilometers. The second similar trick is the use of sensors that simply do not see fuel if it is less than 10 liters. In this case, of course, the real reserve is even greater, but suspicions of underfilling at refueling will look quite reasonable. It would seem, what is the sense of car companies to do this? Because fuel is not their income? Everything is much simpler. If the gas pump works for some time without load, it can fail. If the car is under warranty, this is an additional cost, so manufacturers are not interested in the fuel tank being completely emptied. Through the fault of car owners. How to fill the gas tank to the brim. It is one thing if you refill the fuel yourself using a canister. In this case, you have enough power to catch the moment when the fuel starts to spill over the top of the filler neck. When using a gun, you will need a truly phenomenal reaction time to prevent the fuel from spilling out. Then how do you fill up a full tank at a gas station? Read also, methods to combat oxidation of battery terminals. You basically should not worry about this at all. All modern gas stations have built-in equipment that blocks the supply of gasoline when the tank is filled with a nominal amount of fuel. But before we consider the scheme of fuel tank functioning, and it is not as simple as it may seem to some, let's list those cases. When filling up full is the most preferable. Of course, the first priority is long journeys, especially over distances where even a full refueling will not be enough. In such cases, an extra 5 to 10 liters can make a big difference. Those who live in remote areas from the center know it well. Being in the middle of nowhere, there is a great chance not to reach a gas station, which are not as frequent as on busy highways. Of course, the presence of a large gas tank is a huge plus, but if the vehicle specifications specify the nominal volume, not taking into account the reserve, you should not neglect it, especially since its volume can reach impressive values, up to 25%. So the automatic fuel supply blockage is not a full tank. Ask the gas station attendant or fill up the necessary amount yourself by lifting the gun and pulling the trigger in short cycles. Schematic diagram of the fuel tank of a modern passenger car. For safety reasons, the gas tank is equipped with 3 valves providing its ventilation. The gravity valve is used to prevent fuel leaks if the vehicle tilts sideways at an angle greater than 45 degrees. As a rule, such situations occur exclusively in accidents. The valve is located between the tank itself and the adsorber, which absorbs gasoline vapors and prevents them from escaping to the outside, including the interior of the vehicle. The purpose of the solenoid valve is to regulate the delivery of gases trapped by the adsorber towards the exhaust manifold. The valve is located in the engine compartment and is controlled by the fuel injection mechanism. Ventilation valve is designed to prevent the formation of vacuum in the gas tank due to the supply of fuel to the engine. When the pressure drops, the valve provides access to external atmospheric air into the tank. If the gasoline pump is not working, the valve is in a closed state. It is located in the filler neck, i.e., almost the highest part of the tank. That is why almost all motorists know about its existence. To understand why you cannot fill a full tank of gasoline, consider the scheme of operation of the ventilation system on the example of the car Audi A4. The user manual provides the following information. The top of the gasoline tank has a vent tube that follows from the filler neck toward the gravity drop, transitioning into it through the use of a connector assembly. The gravity valve closes the vent as soon as it detects that the vehicle has tilted to the right side at an angle greater than 45 degrees, preventing gasoline from escaping during critical rolls and flips of the vehicle. The top of the vent tube is fitted with a charcoal filter, similar to a cabin filter, whose job is to trap environmentally harmful volatile substances, gases, and vapors produced in the tank when it is heated. When the power unit is running, the contents of the charcoal filter are sucked back into the gas tank when a certain load is reached. This process is controlled by an electromagnetic valve whose operation is synchronized with the mechanism of fuel injection into the combustion chamber. In addition to the usual fuel tank ventilation scheme, there is also the so-called high-speed mode. Its functioning is ensured by the presence of an additional compensation tank of small volume, also located in the filler shaft. The mode is activated during refueling, when the level of gasoline rises so rapidly that the usual ventilation valve is unable to provide adequate circumstances to equalize the internal pressure without squeezing gasoline vapors into the atmosphere. The standard gasoline tank venting system ensures that atmospheric air is delivered to the tank as fuel is consumed while the vehicle is in motion, preventing the formation of a low-pressure area that would increase the load on the gasoline pump. If you fill a full tank of gasoline, the fuel filled to the brim can compromise the venting system. We will discuss how dangerous this is in the next chapter. Whether you should refrain from filling a full tank of gasoline. There are a lot of different rumors on this subject on the net, framed as the opinion of experts, but not all of them turn out to be true. In particular, a significant percentage of car owners are convinced that it is dangerous to fill up a car to the full tank only because. In this case, it is difficult to avoid fraud on the part of gas station employees. They even cite specific schemes. While you go to the cash register, the gas station attendant takes out a small canister from a wide pocket of pants and safely fills it up, or something like that. In fact, if a gas station employee is engaged in such bodily fluids, it does not matter how much gasoline you fill up, 10 liters or 50 liters, although theoretically in the latter case he can steal more, but still in proportion. Technically, it is difficult to realize this method of deception, given that it is relatively easy to detect. There are many more sophisticated schemes of fuel theft, and it is not our task to describe them. Read also, Principle of Operation, Advantages and Disadvantages of the Atmospheric Engine. Another common argument why it is impossible or undesirable to fill a full tank is the assertion that such a refueling weighs the car, and because of the increase in weight by 30-40-50 kg worsen its dynamics. Of course, it is impossible to consider such statements serious. Just one extra adult passenger in the cabin weighs at least twice as much. Finally, we put a lot of necessary and unnecessary things in the trunk without thinking about the fact that it is also additional ballast. There is also a category of real paranoiacs who are convinced that if you leave a car with a full tank in a parking lot, the next day you are sure to miss at least half a tank of fuel. In principle, there are methods of determining how full the gas tank is, but they require the use of expensive instrumental means of locational action. So in a normal situation to worry about it would be ridiculous. You can just sympathize with such car owners, because they have to worry not so much about gasoline, but about the vehicle itself. It can be stolen with no less probability. Note that to drain gasoline from a foreign car is not so easy, and the newer the car, the more difficult it is to do it, starting with breaking the hatch and ending with the need to solve the problem of the complex structure of the neck with a lot of protective devices. But all of the above does not mean that a tank full is a good thing. There are also quite rational arguments explaining why it is dangerous to fill up the car to the full tank. In particular, this is the possibility of filling with low-quality fuel. If the indicator light comes on and the nearest gas station is not a network one, it is unlikely that you will be able to determine the quality of gasoline. So in such cases, you should really fill up to the minimum, just to get to a known gas station. Finally, a very convincing argument in favor of not filling the car to the top of the filler neck is the risk of disturbing the gas tank ventilation system, as it is designed to fill the normal amount of fuel. This risk lies in the fact that the ventilation valve is located in the neck shaft, but not at its surface, so it will not work until the gasoline level drops. This means that there will be a vacuum in the tank, which may affect the operation of the fuel pump. If you practice such refueling regularly, you can safely say that the gasoline pump will exhaust its resource much earlier than it should. However, the latest generation cars are equipped with a compensatory ventilation system, which takes into account the possibility of overfilling of fuel in excess of the norm. They are not threatened by such a problem. Another probable consequence of refueling full is the possibility of excess gasoline/diesel fuel leaking or spilling out either directly through the neck plug or through the drain pipes. The latter option is most undesirable because chemically active liquid may get on rubber parts in the engine compartment, damaging them, on electrical wiring, on parts of the braking system, power unit or transmission, and getting gasoline on the exhaust system components, which heats up to ultra-high temperatures, is fraught with its combustion. It is not excluded that the onboard computer will not like it, and then the notorious check engine will light up. And to reset the error, you will have to disconnect the battery. It is quite possible that because of the vacuum formation you simply will not be able to start the engine, and you have only yourself to blame. Instead of conclusion, most of the negative consequences of full refueling of the car are related to fuel supply disorders. Normal operation of the gasoline pump is guaranteed only if the volume of gasoline supplied to the power unit is replaced by the same amount of air. If you fill the fuel above the vent valve, you are deprived of this possibility, at least until these several liters are used up. In addition to the formation of an area of low pressure, this situation is dangerous because the temporary lack of ventilation is a big problem if you left the car for several hours after refueling, even in 30-degree heat. As you know, liquids expand when heated, and gasoline is no exception. If you think that tank explosions for this reason, a phenomenon from the realm of fiction, you are deeply mistaken. Such cases are registered regularly, especially in southern countries. So if you need to go on a long trip, fill up a full tank, but not so much that the fuel comes up to the flange of the filler neck. And do it only when you are sure that you will drive a sufficient distance to use up this excess, i.e., about 100 kilometers. But it is better to refuel without overfilling, and in case of emergency take a canister, or even several. In conclusion, understanding the myths and realities of refueling to a full tank can help you make more informed decisions at the pump. While some common beliefs may seem logical, they often lack scientific backing. By debunking these misconceptions, we can save money, improve fuel efficiency, and ensure the longevity of our vehicles. Remember, knowledge is power, and being well-informed about your refueling habits can lead to a more efficient and economical driving experience. Thank you for watching, and drive safely.